Hello and what's up everyone, Thunder Bob here, and tonight I am checking out some more Diablo 2 Resurrected. Specifically, this video is not really going to be about the game, gameplay, combat builds, or anything like I normally cover. We're going to be talking about a new graphical addition that the new patch has added. This is dLss, or Deep Learning Super Sampling. This is a feature that I really like. I've done a couple of features for different games that have added this in the past. Things like Cyberpunk and Tomb Raider. A lot of the really graphical powerhouses have added this in over time, and it is maybe the most exciting feature out there on the NVIDIA cards. One of the main reasons I went with NVIDIA this generation. And what this basically is on the 2000 and 3000 series NVIDIA cards, they added tensor cores. These are basically cores that are good at specific tasks like artificial intelligence. And what dLss does is it will produce an image at a lower resolution and use machine learning, temporal image upscaling to make the image appear higher resolution. So you could have a base image at 720p that scales up to 4K and is almost indistinguishable. There are times where it's more obvious than others, and we're going to look at a couple of examples. But overall, it's like free performance, as long as you have either a 2000 or 3000 series card. Now, I have an RTX 3080. This is a pretty high-end card. And actually, for Diablo 2 Resurrected, this feature is not really necessary. So I've got a 144 hertz monitor, and as you can see up here, I'm pretty much locked at 144. So in most cases, I don't benefit much from dLss. I'm not sure if I'll use it. In some games like Cyberpunk, when you're using ray tracing, it's absolutely necessary to get a good performance out of it. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is come in here, I'm going to turn vertical sync off, and I'm going to turn off the frame rate cap. And right now I have dLss set to quality. Let's just go ahead and we're going to turn it off completely. We're going to set a baseline here. So vertical sync off, frame rate cap off, and I am getting 178 FPS just sitting in Act 4. Now, we're going to go through each of the different settings and look at how it impacts FPS, and then I'll also do this for a couple of different areas of the game. But let's go ahead and go back into options. So you've established no dLss, about 180 FPS. Let's turn on ultra performance. And you can see nearly 300 FPS, which you also notice my GPU usage went up considerably. I think I was sitting at like 50, and now I'm almost maxing out my GPU. That's more FPS than you need for this game. The 144 I think is fine. 300 FPS is pretty insane. And actually at this ultra performance level, you can see some graphical issues. Like, it just doesn't look as clear. Like, look at her armor, look at the shield. And I'll do some comparisons later in the video, but we're just going to quickly go through the different settings. And in motion, you'll see a lot more anomalies with dLss. On static images, actually, is where it looks best. Go ahead and jump to performance. So 255, 54, somewhere in that range. You'll also notice a lot more fluctuations, some kind of micro-stuttering at times. That's why I like locking it to 144. Look at balanced. And what these different settings are doing is it's increasing the base resolution that it's up-resing from. I don't have the exact numbers, but in different games, like in Control, I think it's like 720p, and then as you get closer, like 1080p, 1440p that it's up-resing from. And I'm running native resolution 3440 by 1440. So it's using the AI to go from those base resolutions to this higher resolution, filling in the blanks in a matter of speaking. So here's balanced. 240. About 10 FPS difference at each level. quality. And this is probably if I was going to use it in Diablo where I'd actually utilize this. And we're at 230. And again, we'll just turn it off. And I'm getting around 180. So even just going from off to the quality mode gives you about a 50 FPS bump. Now, I don't know that I'll actually use this in practice because I get, great performance without it on. I think this is not going to benefit people with 3080s, with 3090s, with the really high-end cards. But I think this could be beneficial to people running lower-end cards, 2060s, 3060s, 3070s maybe even if you're running at 4K. I'm running at Ultrawide 3440 by 1440 here. So that's the basics. I don't think it's an amazing benefit to me personally, just because even with it off, my performance is great. But yeah, if you've got a lower end card, you may want to utilize this. I'm gonna do just a couple of different scenes and show the different performance level. So if you want to stick it out and watch those, feel free. But I'm gonna just have some video playing from here on out with the different levels. So thanks for watching. Okay, so here is dLss off. This is just straight 3440 by 1440. And we transition to the ultra performance mode. And you can see just a little bit of blurriness maybe on those grass textures, but overall, even at ultra performance, it looks pretty good here. Balanced mode. Again, very little change, though you're still getting a pretty big improvement on FPS. And then here's quality mode. Least large improvement, still 50 FPS improvement, and really indistinguishable from native in my opinion. And here's an overall look at all four. Again, side by side, it's very hard to tell in my opinion. And here's another scene, native 3440 by 1440, 186 frames per second. Switch to ultra, 270 FPS, getting close to 300 again here. And just a pretty scene here, all the particle effects and things. And even at ultra performance, I can't really tell a big difference. Then on to balanced, you're down to 248 FPS. And quality mode, 230. I think I'm going to stick it out with quality mode. I think, you get very, very little graphical difference, but you get like a free 50 FPS boost. And here are all four side by side again. And here is Diablo, and this is maybe the biggest thing I noticed. Look at Diablo in particular as it transitions here. You see all that like dithering? It almost looks like bugged or something. I feel like dLss doesn't know quite what to do with that texture at that resolution. Balanced looks a little bit better. And then you transition to quality, and it's almost the same. There's maybe just like a little bit of like dithering, a little bit of like issues around the edges of that texture, and I'm not quite sure why that is. So those are the three scenes I wanted to share. Overall, I'm really impressed with the dLss quality. It runs really, really well and looks really well. You get, 50 FPS boost, even just going to quality mode. But then again, if you're running a 3080, you probably don't need to boost anyways. So I'm going to try it on Ultra and see if I notice any difference and if it keeps me at flat 144. But if you're running a 3080 or 3090 and you're already maxing out your FPS, I don't see the great benefit. Maybe you would use less GPU cycles, but in the end, you got the card, you might as well use it. So overall, impressed with dLss, especially if you're on a lower end card. I think you'll benefit from it. Let me know what you think, if this is a feature you're going to be using, if you're seeing a great benefit from it. Definitely drop a line. I'm interested in hearing what other people are thinking. And if you like this video, I've got a ton of other Diablo content on the channel. Feel free to check it out. Thanks again for watching, everyone. Have a good night.